Hello, hi, Kalibito, Kina Buipelo Mogezi, and I am your Radio Bae. Now, before I get into my journey, I have to give a big shout out to Black Spot Media Productions. Thank you so much for having me. You guys are so cool. But let's get down to it. So, my journey, where do I even start? Oh my word. It goes all the way back to the year that was 2017 professionally, but I would say it all actually started in high school. In high school, I did a lot of debating, public speaking. That's when I saw that actually, I sound good when I speak, and I speak a lot of sense because like debating requires you to be up to date with a lot of things. And in grade 10, I got a beautiful opportunity to compete with different high schools in Kimberley. And there could only be, I think, about 5 to 7 spots. Yeah, 5 to 7 spots where we had the privilege of traveling to Bloom to go to OFM, view their studios, and basically have like a radio workshop. And I remember walking into those studios feeling like this is where I belong. So we got a tour of the studio. We got to speak to some of the producers and the presenters there. And that's when I realized that actually there is a career to be followed or made in entertainment. And that's what I wanted to do. And so then I applied for AFDA. At first, my parents weren't really too keen because my siblings followed a very academic kind of journey, and they had naturally assumed that me being the last born would follow the same trajectory. And I wanted to be a creative, and I think that kind of scared them, as it would scare any parents. I think something that's unknown, something that's not deemed as stable will always shake up parents. But a big shout out to my sister who helped me convince my parents that it's quite a lucrative career. And I think also after being such an established institution, my dad had friends who had children there, so he felt a little bit more confident because he was like, okay, I see there's people who go there. At first he was like, what the hell is AFDA and why would you want to go there? But I guess in the end it all worked out. I went to AFDA, and over there I studied live performance at first, right, in my first semester, because it had sort of like a presenting element to it, and that's where I saw myself going. But soon I realized that it's got a lot more to do with acting, and that's not really my thing. And so I then chose to venture into television, behind the scenes that is, and do production and writing and directing. And that was really, really fun. I learned a lot while I was there. I graduated in 2019, but while I was still at AFDA, I still knew that even though my institution didn't have a radio station, there's a great possibility that if I start while I'm in school, I'll probably succeed a lot earlier on. And I guess I was right. So in 2017, which was my second year, I then went to Voice of Wits, which is another institution my sister went to. And she was like, no, just apply. And I was like, yeah, let me just apply. And I did, and they called me for an interview, and I got the job. And that's where I learned everything I know about radio. So it was not a gruesome process, but it was quite a difficult one because obviously this is not something I went to school for. I was going to school for television and then learning radio on the job all at the same time. So a normal day in the life for me was radio and school, and juggling both was quite hard. But you know, you do what you do, and if something feels like your dream, it feels right. It didn't feel like a job. It didn't feel like I was overextending myself. It just felt like me following my dreams and doing what felt right to me. And so at Voice of Wits, I got to learn about the medium of radio, the style of broadcasting, finding my voice. I made a lot of mistakes there, and I got to learn a lot there. So I'll always be appreciative of the space. And it also gave me an opportunity to work at YFM. So while I was at VOW, I got a call from the programs manager at Y, and they were like, we were listening to your show today and we want you to come in for a chat. And I went there and they offered me a contract, which went on for about 2 years, where I would do their graveyard shows and stand in on some of their other evening shows, whether it was weekday or weekend. And I really thought like, yeah, one day I'm going to get into Y. And obviously Y is legendary. I grew up listening to it. And so I thought, yeah, one day they're going to sign me up and I'm going to be a real YFM presenter, not just like a stand-in presenter. And then it just didn't happen that way. The year after my contract with Y ended though, 5FM came calling and I was like, yep, I think this is what God wanted for me. I was upset that Y didn't happen, but God was like, girl, I got you. Dream bigger. Because now I'm on national radio, and that's been a beautiful journey. I have always felt as though being in a space where you've got so much power and so many people who listen to you, who you can influence through the kind of content you produce, I've always found so fascinating about radio, and being able to do it to the entire country or with the entire country, mind-blowing. And beyond radio, in 2019 to about last year, I've also been into television production. So a lot of people don't actually know that about me, but I am a cast and production coordinator. So basically, I bear all the stresses that come with productions. So making sure that locations are fine, making sure that cast is okay, making sure that everything we shoot is up to par is basically what I deal with on a day-to-day when it comes to TV production and coordinating. And that's also allowed me to really open myself up to a different world when it comes to the creative space, because when you're behind the scenes and when you're in front of the camera, it's two different worlds completely. And so I've learned a lot, because in radio, you're behind the mic, it's your show, you're in control, you're producing. And in TV, I've had to not be the star, and I've had to sort of take a back seat and let the stars, who are the actors, do their thing while I do the administrative part of everything. And that has really taught me, a whole lot. And yeah, man, so my journey is one that's had a lot of ebbs and flows, a lot of great times, a lot of stress, a lot of tears. Earlier on, I was talking about how a typical day in the life used to look for me when I was still at VOW, and it used to be, I would start with graveyard at Y, which would be 3 to 6 a.m. And then I would go home, nap or prep for my 9 to 12 show at VOW. And then from 1 to 5, I would be at AFDA doing schoolwork. And in between, I'm either show prepping, doing schoolwork, and it was a lot. That's kind of where I started, getting a little bit of anxiety. But it all worked out in the end, because right now I feel like I'm at a point, especially in my radio career, where I'm well on my way to being seasoned. I'm well on my way to being the person who now shares knowledge with the people who are coming behind me. And that is something that I really want to be big on in the coming years. A lot of people have asked me, can you be my mentor? Can I shadow you? And I'm always open to it, because I think sharing knowledge for me is something that I had at a very early point in my career. And I think paying it forward is always something I'll be big on. And so, I think to anyone who is following a dream, chasing their passion, maybe things aren't working out right now. Maybe you've been trying hard and still you feel like you're not getting anywhere. Maybe you're starting out and you don't even know where to go. The first thing I would say is find a mentor, find out a lot about your industry, be in spaces where the people who work within that particular space of the creative industry are. Ask the questions, go to the events, Save up money sometimes. If you need to buy a ticket to be in a space, save up that money, because it's an investment back into yourself. Because once you're in that space, you can ask anyone anything. No one is unreachable. Don't be scared. I think radio has also taught me that. Don't be scared to talk to anyone. There's times where while I was at Bao, I'd be like, oh, I want to interview AKA, but how do I do that? And I was like, you know what? I work at a media place. I can call because I'm part of media, and I made it happen. So for me, it's like, just don't be scared to approach anyone. Don't be scared to pitch things. Don't be afraid to materialize your ideas, because that's where all the beauty is. And that's where your story will come full circle one day. Earlier in my Monday motivation, I also said, show up. Show up for real. Sometimes you get anxious. Sometimes you're in your head. Sometimes you feel like, is this really worth it? Do I really want to do this? In those very moments where you say that, that's exactly when you need to actually move and run with your idea, because second guessing it will only make you lazy and make you want to quit. So yeah, man, really, if you're chasing a dream, keep at it, keep going. And something for me that I wish I was told in the beginning of my industry, or rather my career in the industry, is don't be afraid to name your price. Name your price unapologetically. If your price is too high for the people that you are talking to, learn the art of negotiation. And I think a trick that my brother taught me, which is actually a simple one, if you think about it, would be maybe aim a little higher, so that if you negotiate down, you negotiate to the price you'd actually be okay with. The principle of negotiation is a very important one in the industry that we live in, or rather work in, because as creatives, we're so passionate about what we do, we can easily undercharge ourselves. But at the end of the day, you got to take the bacon home. There's kids who are depending on you, family, yourself. The economy that we live in, Cyril's economy, is no joke. So literally make sure that you're not undercharging yourself, and do research about rates. Talk to the people who do what you want to do. Understand what it takes to charge 30K to host. Understand what value that 30K comes with, because sometimes people will just name a price, but if you break down why, they lineage in the industry doesn't even speak to that amount. So always know, I charge this because of that, this and the other. This is what I produce. I've got 5 outfit changes. I'm changing my hair. I'm changing my makeup. All of those things are costs. So essentially, you need to run your brand as a business, a profitable one. So those are the kind of things I wish I knew at the beginning of my industry. But I'm learning. I've learned a lot, and I think I'm doing all right. So yeah, I wish you all the best. I wish you soar. I know that all of us have dreams. Sometimes they're dormant. Sometimes we act on them. Sometimes we get lazy. But always persevere. Don't sleep on yourself, ever. And I am out, I think, with those parting words. Don't sleep on yourself. Show up. And just go out there and be great, man. The industry is yours for the taking. The world is your oyster. Put in the work and you'll be okay.